Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the AI Cookbook Show. Today, let's look at our weekly degustation menu. What's that? Well, this is our weekly recap of everything that happened in AI. We know it's pretty much impossible to do everything that happened in AI, but curated for you are the most important things. We're going to look into how OpenAI, for example, is jumping into healthcare, which is super controversial. But me, Malcolm Vechota, I would put my entire medical history in this thing, and I'll try to explain to you why. We're going to look into Meta. So funnily enough, the podcast we did about why Manus is buying Meta, or why Meta is buying Manus, is like super exploded. But now there's a reversal, maybe, who knows. NVIDIA at the CES is always hot stuff. This year, for example, they announced their partnership with Siemens, but that's not a topic we'll go into. And we're going to find out why Anthropic is raising more and more and more and more money. And finally, we will end up with DeepSeek. And what does it tell us about where AI research is heading to? So yeah, people, action, let's go.
Flip the switch, the circuit's live. Digital dreams, they thrive and strive. Recipes coded to feed your mind, serving knowledge of the AI kind. Welcome to the AI Cookbook Show, where the data streams and the insights flow. Tune in slow, let the rhythm grow. For every soul in the know and those who don't.
Okay, let's start with a story. Okay, Infosys. Infosys, you know, is that massive Indian IT services and consulting company. So they announced a partnership with Cognition to scale Devin. I don't know if you remember, Devin at the beginning of AI pretty quickly found its niche. Devin said, hey, we are like an AI coder. You can book us. You can take Devin and you can integrate Devin in your team. At the beginning, Devin really wasn't good. You know, people who used to try Devin said, okay, you can do very, very basic things. And then, to be honest, the LLMs overtook Devin. You can do a lot of things today in Claude Code where you don't need Devin. But for Claude Code, you must learn how to query Claude Code. Yet, Devin is kind of like an AI helper that will help you to code and you can take your hands off. Perfect for an Indian IT services company with hundreds of thousands of employees. And this market-moving AI partnership is really something fascinating. So let's put a bit of context. Who are the big IT services company? Well, we have Infosys, Wipro, TCS, etc. Now, how do they make money? They make money by selling developer hours. They've got hundreds and thousands of software engineers and they build their client time. But if AI can write code, then AI can automate software development, then why the hell do you still need these guys? And this is why the argument is very powerful. The argument is powerful that the companies that you normally call to help you to build software, well, that they boost themselves, and not with GitHub Copilot, with Cursor, with Claude Code. No, with agentic tools like Devin, where they can say, complete this entire task. Why do they have a huge advantage from this? Well, they have coders who are looking at task A, but they have another 5,000 coders who are also doing task A. So if one coder teaches Devin task A, then every time task A needs to be done, there is a compounding effect. And Infosys versus many other AI software companies that we know or that we work with, actually not running away from the threat. I can tell you, I know enough developers who don't use AI. It's shocking. It's shocking because they don't believe in it. They see that it does hallucinations. It pisses them off. But now you have a huge company that says, okay, we want to do it, but we're not experts. Let's contact Cognition. And Cognition is that company behind Devin, right? And then they say, okay, look, we want to partner with you. And we want to partner with you. Why? Because our enterprise deals are built on trust. When a Fortune 500 company is deciding that they want to work with us, they're just not looking for cheaper developers. They'll find them somewhere else. They're looking for somebody who they can trust to deliver the project from A until Z. And Infosys is this type of company. And this is what Infosys has been building for decades, trust. So now they've got relationships with thousands of enterprises around the world. And now when an Infosys comes to a client and says, look here, we're going to use Devin to accelerate your software development, it's different than a customer internally trying to understand how to use Devin. Try to understand how can I deploy it so that it's safe. Try to understand, is this technology working? Is it not? Is it integrated in our workflows? Now, Cognition, the company behind Devin, what are they saying? They're not just building Devin, AI helpers to just bug and debug and I don't know, not bug, that's very vibe coding. Debug, do a lot of demos, etc. No, they're building AI agents that will complete the task from A until Z. Now you could say, okay, but aren't they just cannibalizing their own business? Because if Devin can do the work of 5 developers, does Infosys need less developers, or will their pricing model change? It's like in consulting nowadays. You expect to pay less with McKinsey because McKinsey is using a lot of AI. Now the thing is, I think what Infosys will do is they will not change their pricing. If anything, maybe they will put a markup on it because they will say, look here, currently the world is going to need more software, not less. And AI will help us to do software development faster and cleverer. So for me, Infosys and Cognition entering a partnership is a very, very big deal. Okay, now you remember at the beginning I said, I would be happy to put my entire medical history in ChatGPT. Why? Well, I've lived in so many different countries. Like, it's a huge mess when you change countries all the time. You get to a new doctor and the doctor said, I don't know, oh, you broke this bone and that, and now you have pain there. Do you have an x-ray? Who is your doctor? Well, the previous one was in Angola. So finished. So then what do? They do another x-ray. And not only this, I don't have a good track of all my medical records and all my medical history. So I probably received many, many more x-rays than I'm supposed to. When I see a new doctor, it's difficult for that new doctor to get a bit of an idea. This is what happened to me. These are the type of operations I had. This is where I broke my bones. This is where I had an accident. And therefore, it's difficult for them to spot patterns. Now, it is reported that 230 million people are always using ChatGPT every single week to ask medical health questions. And so do we. Like our son has a rash, boom, we take a picture, throw it into ChatGPT. I don't know, something happens, we eat something, but we're not sure, was it this and that? We ask ChatGPT. Therefore, OpenAI is opening a health-dedicated space. Now, this is not just a health-dedicated space like a project where you just put in your files. No, this is a space that is, by the way, not HIPAA compliant. So they say themselves, look, our consumer feature is not HIPAA compliant. It's not FDA compliant, okay? It's here to connect ChatGPT with hospitals and healthcare institutions that are HIPAA compliant. Do you understand how cool that is? In Austria, if I want to go and see a specialized healthcare professional, I wait 2 weeks. Sometimes I wait 2-3 months. Now, if ChatGPT understands my entire history and it says, look, go and visit that practitioner, tell him this and this and that. And by the way, I'm also connected to the 10 biggest hospitals in your country, and I can refer you, for example, also to a private specialist. Hey, I would pay for this. I would pay a lot of money for this. And I postulate that a lot of things will happen. Nowadays, companies give, their members, their employees a gym membership. Oh, here's a gym membership for you. And people use it in the first month and then they never do. But imagine a company benefit being ChatGPT Healthcare, where not only do we know your medical history, we can help you, but ChatGPT Healthcare is connected to everything around you. all the medical professionals. You need a blood. You need to check your blood. Oh, we're connected to 5 laboratories and this and this and that. And what is happening here? Even though the technology is not quite ready, they're doing this. The problem that ChatGPT has is it does not have a moat. It's relatively simple for Claude and Gemini to overtake ChatGPT 5.2 in a week or 2 or 3 or in a couple of months. So therefore, they need to get into a niche where they can lock themselves into. It does not seem as though Gemini and Anthropic from Claude are currently doing this. And by the way, when somebody gets bad health information, it can have huge long-term consequences. So health in ChatGPT, I understand why they're doing it. I'm a bit skeptical about it because we know about hallucinations of AI, and maybe the technology is not yet right for the right time. But I applaud that OpenAI and ChatGPT are moving into this direction. Let's move on to the fusion dish, geopolitical spaghetti. My God. Okay, so last week we did an episode where I told you a lot of people listened to this episode where we talked about Meta buying Manus. $1 billion deal, I don't remember, $2.5 billion, I think. I think they did that deal in a couple of days. Now, when you go and listen to it, you will see that for me, or the way that I presented it, was that it's a done deal. But now, the Financial Times is reporting that Chinese authorities are reviewing whether Meta's purchase of Manus requires an export license from China. But wait, in the episode, we explained that Manus is technically a Singapore company, right? Then how come the Chinese government is saying, no, stop, we need to let you know if you're allowed to buy Manus? Because of what we spoke in that episode, that Singapore washing. We spoke how Chinese companies relocate to Singapore to avoid Chinese regulations and then get acquired by Western companies. So China is basically saying, stop. We understand that you did the Singapore wash. That's okay. We already have that problem with TikTok. That's okay. But now we need to check if we need to approve this acquisition because it's an export of technology which was built in China. And this really validates something that we spoke about last week. We said that this deal was going to have bigger implications than just Meta getting maybe a cool AI tool. I'm just waiting for Trump next week, hand in the fire that's going to happen next week or the week after, that Trump will get wind of the situation because Meta will go and complain to Trump. And then the topic of Manus being bought will fall onto the table of Trump. And then we know it gets complicated. Because if China decides that this acquisition violates the export rules, what can happen? First of all, they can impose penalties on Meta. They can impose sanctions on Manus employees. And we know that a lot of Manus employees still have ties to China. And if I still have ties to China, if my family's there, if I have assets there, if I have flats and houses or whatever, or my money in the bank, then I will think 5 times if I would close a deal with Meta or if I would just continue working the way I was. But for the broader AI ecosystem, what does this mean? It's a warning shot. If you are an AI startup with Chinese origins or Chinese founders or technology developed in China, you need to be very, very careful on how you structure yourself and who to sell. Now, I'm not saying if any of you have Chinese employees in your startup that you will have a problem long term because one day the Chinese government will put their hand up and say, wait, there was a Chinese employee there. Wait, we need to discuss this if there was not Chinese contribution and if this does not fall under some export restrictions. Now let's come to the main course, gluttony. Now, CES happened last week in Las Vegas. CES is a great place. It's a place where, Jensen Huang is always there, the leather jacket guy from NVIDIA, and he always does great announcements. This week, for example, he announced a great partnership with Siemens, right? Now, but we don't care about this. We care about 2 big things. First of all, they talked about Vera Rubin AI. It's a computing platform, and it's being positioned as the next generation beyond Blackwell. So Blackwell today is a state of the art, really expensive. But what comes after Blackwell? Now, the thing that's very interesting is Vera Rubin, they claim that training efficiency will be higher, performance will be higher, and the technical specs will be even better than what we have today. Okay, that's cool. But the second announcement is where we really need to look at it. Alpamayo. Alpamayo is an AI model, and it's aimed at self-driving cars. Now, what's really interesting is NVIDIA has been in the autonomous vehicle space for some time. They have their own drive platform. But now they're pushing even harder on the AI model side. Not AI models that you and I are going to use like ChatGPT, but they already provide the hardware. How about providing specialized AI models? Now, we talked about the next advancement in AI. Not the Blackwell chips for which you're going to spend a lot of money, which you ordered now and you're going to get in a year. No, the next one, Vera Rubin. But Malcolm, I don't understand. I'm buying the Blackwell chips and I'm getting them in a year, and you're telling me already now they're explaining that the next model is going to come in. Aren't they cannibalizing themselves a bit? Yes, well, actually a lot, because this market is so hot that there is demand there. So the pace of hardware advancement is huge. It's not slowing down. Slowly, the pace of hardware advancements is getting very close to the pace of software advancements 10 years ago. 10 years ago already you knew, okay, I'm going to buy whatever, Office 95, but you knew next year already the next one's going to come. Now, software is easy. You install the next software. But today, if you're buying Blackwell chips, you know maybe in a year or in a year and a half, they will already be outdated. That's wild. Because NVIDIA could hold it back. They could continue selling Blackwell for 2, 3, 4 years. They have an existent monopoly in the world, and then only start selling the next one and the next one. But they have such a strong confidence in the roadmap that they're not slowing down. Actually, if you ask me, they're even hedging. They're saying, look, what's next? What's next? What's next? Don't worry. The demand is there. The innovation will continue. Don't worry about it. Okay, next one. Where is the money? So the money is right now everywhere. If you're an AI company and you raise your hands in this probable AI bubble in which we are, everybody will give you money. And the next one who's raising money is Anthropic. No, Malcolm, didn't you say that they're going to do an IPO and didn't they just raise around? Well, yes. Well, they need more money. So what are they doing? They've already raised billions from Google, Salesforce, and others, and they're going back for more. Why? Because building frontier AI models, like, for example, the latest model, Opus from Anthropic, from Claude, is just fantastic. But it's insanely expensive. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And potentially the next models might cost billions of dollars of just compute to train the next models. So Anthropic is in that race. They're in that race with Google, with Meta, with the Chinese labs like DeepSeek, etc. And for the Americans, capital is the weapon. The more money you have, the more compute you can buy, the bigger models you can train. And I don't know if you saw, but Google is going to spend a lot of money for nuclear reactors, I think. We'll do a separate episode on this. Okay, back to Malcolm's, thinking in the box. Okay, so Anthropic is raising these as huge valuations because they understand that the winners in this space are going to be worth hundreds of billions, maybe even trillions. Maybe Anthropic will be worth more than NVIDIA one day. Who knows? And therefore, companies are giving them the money. And if you think that it's an AI bubble, well, it probably is an AI bubble. And one day, the way that these companies are going to justify these valuations will be through actual revenue, like NVIDIA. NVIDIA has actual revenue and profits, and therefore a crazy valuation. The highest valued company in the world. But the way the money keeps flowing also shows you the potential. Companies and investors see a huge potential in Anthropic. And every second or third episode, we talk about some new capabilities or some new deployments or some new use cases that are powered by Anthropic. Or, for example, Claude Code. So for me, Anthropic raising more money is just maybe the beginning of the AI arms race of 2026. And as you can see here on the last slide, the dessert of today's menu, DeepSeek. Okay, we know DeepSeek. DeepSeek is that AI Chinese lab, etc. Now, remember, DeepSeek don't have the same compute power because they don't have the same access to the latest chips than all the others. Now, what are they able to do? What they do is they say, okay, let's use our capabilities, but let's use it in a clever way. So they were able, for example, with very, very little money to build something that is similar to GPT-4. How are they doing this? Well, they're introducing new internal efficiencies. And when I say internal efficiencies, not the company, but how to train models. So Business Insider that just reported that they introduced a method to improve internal information sharing during the training process. Why does this matter? Let's take Ilya. Ilya is one of the founders of OpenAI. You know, he just left OpenAI to do his own company, etc. And he said something very interesting. He said, look here, we're entering the age of R&D in AI. What does he mean? He means before, to scale up, you just had to throw more compute at it. But now that's hitting diminishing returns. It doesn't matter if you put billions and billions of dollars, the models won't do big jumps. Kind of the easy gains are now already finished. And what comes next is R&D. R&D in finding new techniques, new architectures, new way of training that can unlock huge jumps in level of capabilities. And that's exactly what DeepSeek is doing. They know they don't have access to the latest chips, so they're innovating on the fundamental training process itself. So what did they figure out? Well, they figured out a way to make information sharing between different parts of the models more efficient during training. And what's lovely about DeepSeek, and by the way, also very similar to Anthropic, is they publish a lot. They tell people, okay, this is how we did it, and you can copy it. So therefore, not only the model of DeepSeek will become more capable, but on the same compute or lower compute, we're going to find other people taking that paper from DeepSeek and creating better models with less compute. For us, this is the type of research that matters in 2026. If scaling laws are really hitting a wall, then labs need to find out what is the next paradigm shift, what's the next set of techniques. And DeepSeek, until now, we know, has been doing fantastic, impressive work. So the age of R&D is here, scaling era is maturing, so keep an eye on these new techniques. Good. I hope that you enjoyed the second week of January 2026 recap. Just to recap, Infosys is partnering with Cognition to deploy AI agents that are coding, called Devin. OpenAI's health in ChatGPT is a big bet on, let's say, a very regulated industry. And maybe Trump next week or the week after is going to talk about Manus. Because Meta is going to put pressure on Trump because China, it seems, will want to stop selling Manus to Meta. And at the end, we close with DeepSeek and how we are moving into the age of R&D because we've hit compute scaling laws. That's what happened in AI. This is the AI Cookbook Show. I'm Malcolm Bechota. So yeah, most wonderful greetings from Bregenz. Malcolm, out.